And we are live. Good afternoon, and welcome to another OSR tabletop live stream with myself, Richard DM Bloodworth. And this is going to be a combination of a response video, a response to kind of indirectly to Condor DM, who whose video on the topic of traps, and I will bring that banner up here. Um, so on traps in your tabletop RPG, and how, in his experience at least, there are some players who want to avoid traps and or combat altogether, at his I'm assuming at his gaming table, and that this he at least gave the impression that this is something that he has seen um, throughout, the history of tabletop role playing, like in the hobby or just in general, like in the 80s and, I'm assuming 90s, because I'm fairly certain he is someone who started with second edition AD&D and, not that he hasn't probably played earlier editions, but I think that that's his time frame was, the 90s and forward. And I was responding to his video on Shoner's channel, because Condor DM has me blocked on his channel, so I can't respond to him there. And any time that I had, he basically gave me the same kind of response that he put into Shoner's video as well. So what I want to do today is I want to talk a little bit about trap avoidance or combat avoidance, and how to deal with players who do not want to engage in those particular things. And unlike in Condor DM's video, uh, where he never, at least in my opinion, he never actually gives any kind of a solution to it. He just says that this is a problem that has existed or he has experienced, and actually came out and said, since I was questioning like what he actually meant, that I'm not an experienced GM because I've never encountered this, maybe, or whatever. But I'm going to read directly from um, the exchange that we had on Shoner's video. And so Shoner does this kind of breakdown of Condor DM's video, and pretty much, Shoner has a very dry and tact of just going at various things and asking questions, kind of tongue in cheek or sarcastic or whatever. But Shoner, for his part, he generally doesn't think that anybody actually role plays, and certainly not in D&D. So and I have my differences with him on that point as well. But so he was basically going through, and I just put this first response in. So I put, I don't get what he means by avoiding traps, as if the players can make the choice to avoid traps. Game mechanics allows for PCs to detect traps, but only if the players declare their characters are actively searching for traps. Even if they detect a trap, it still isn't avoiding it unless they successfully disarm or circumvent it. That requires stating the attempt, having the skill to disarm, and then making a successful roll. This process that I described requires, in my opinion, a combination of role playing, because you're talking about what your character is doing, not what you're having your character do, but what your character is doing. That's really two different things. That's kind of the difference between role playing and utilizing the game mechanics to play the game. So this requires a combination of role playing, exploration, which I include like discovery and searching for things. That's part of the exploration pillar of role-playing games using skills and the unpredictable outcome, which is determined by the dice, obviously. It requires risk and either giving a reward, having successfully disarmed the trap, which could be an award in itself, and or the negative outcome if you failed in searching for the trap and you trigger the trap and whatever consequences go along with that. If the DM is just letting the players hand wave the traps or combat as something they choose to avoid, then the DM either needs to say, no, this is something that you have to work your way around or through or circumvent it or defeat it, or just basically face the challenge, or you really do have a group of players. And I said, or you need to get better players. All right, now I might have been kind of abrupt with that, but what his video was describing was players that aren't looking to engage in the game at hand. And so when you're dealing with players, if they're consistently doing that, then they're not looking to play the game that you're looking to run. All right. And now you have a very interesting situation there where you're going to have to make the decision as a game master of, well, do I have to change the game system that I'm using? Maybe they don't just like this game system, and that's how they're just not choosing to engage with it. Or am I doing something that's, with traps that is just too, too mundane for them or too frequent? Or is it not challenging enough for them? Am I not giving them the opportunities to again circumvent them in some way? And so you have to start like thinking to yourself as a game master, how am I going to deal with these players that are not engaging in the content that I have created or I have presented in front of them to challenge them and work around that. Come in. Sorry, hold on. I'll be right back. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have to wrap it up because as you know, I'm on vacation, and I will return and try to attempt to wrap this up again at a different time, either later on tonight or sometime tomorrow. All right, sorry about that, and you all have a good one. Thanks for joining. Take care.